right. We got Blizzard keeps removing skill from Overwatch 2 from Samito. Oh boy. What is Blizzard doing?
Today's discussion should be a pretty good one. Recently, let's just cut straight into this one here. Recently, a new feature was added in Season 12 to Overwatch 2 called Wave Respawns. I think this was pioneered by Gavin, who did the new rank system, which
Wave respawns. What the heck is that?
actually has been pretty nice. I don't think it's better than the SR system, but I think from a feature standpoint, this system has way more features to it that are really, really good. I just liked seeing like my old numbers go up. That's a personal thing, though, and I'm not going to enforce my personal opinion on everyone else. The new rank system is definitely way better than the first one, and they deserve a lot of credit for it. But they introduced...
Oh, okay. So Blizzard is catching at least an occasional rare W. Supposedly, the skill. Wait, what'd you say? The matchmaking system?
New rank system is definitely way better than the first.
Okay, so the new rank system is way better. Okay. Well, that's good to hear.
One, they deserve a lot of credit for it. But they introduced this new feature called Wave Respawns, which essentially like forces players to spawn in together. According to Blizzard, this has been a big success, and I'm going to challenge their thinking a little bit and give my honest thoughts on some of the clear concerns I have with Wave Respawn, some things of the game that I think have been made a little bit worse, actually. I'm not slamming the entire idea. I want to be clear about that. I just think it's a little bit too good right now. I'd like to see the dial tuned back on, especially on modes like Clash. I've had a couple Koth games where they've gotten an entire team fight. They've gotten an extra team fight that they should not have had because of Wave Respawns. It's literally given players a chance to get back into the game for free when they haven't actually made any proper decisions. They've actually made incorrect decisions, and they get rewarded or bailed out of making bad decisions. And it seems like, just to be honest with you, like Overwatch 2 has really just dumbed down this game. It's
I still have no idea what wave respawning is. If I were to guess, they probably took the idea of wave respawning from World of Warcraft and Battlegrounds. Essentially, what happens, at least in Battlegrounds on WoW, was when you die, you get ported like in your ghost form to a, what do you call it, like a little graveyard healer on each side of the battlefield, and both little like ghost healers, they engage in a I think it's like a 45-second timer, and they're constantly like rezzing people that just hang out or that die and hang out by like the ghost healer. And every 45 seconds, you will get respawned. So if you time it correctly, and you actually know, what do you call it? Like when the little ghost healer person is about to like res everybody, if you have that knowledge, then it can be exploited. So essentially you can time in like your all-ins based off of your knowledge of, okay, the next respawn is about to go off in like 30 seconds. All right, we got like, I don't know, in terms of Overwatch, it's like, okay, we got like 3 ults or something. It's like, okay, everybody, we're about to go like right now. And so everybody goes in, some people die, some people don't, whatever. But the people that know, so let's say some people die, they go back to like the respawn thing, and then they instantly get respawned because they timed it correctly, so they can get back out there. So you don't have to wait. Like, let's say you die, and you die like in the beginning of the 45-second timer. That's a whole like 45 seconds that you're not doing anything. So if you can time it correctly to where, you know, you do your all in right as that res thing is about to pop, you can have like a constant, I don't know what to call it, engagement in your battles.
It's made way more play.
I could totally see this being. I mean, so I don't know how it's currently implemented in Overwatch, but I can see that being a cheat, for sure. The whole wave respawn thing. It would be easy. You just have like a little official timer, like up in like a corner somewhere, or I don't know, maybe like whatever. But you either track it like mentally, or you just have a cheat for it. So
For you things, the gameplay loop is way more one-dimensional. There's way less player agency, and personally, I don't think that's a good direction for the game to go. I'm not saying wave respawns are the end-all, be-all for these things, but let's get into what Gavin said. I'm going to talk about some things that I think should be improved. Let me make this clear. I don't think they should remove the system, but I do think it's too strong right now. So let's talk about this. Here's what Gavin said on Twitter. He said, I'm happy to report that wave respawn has reduced the number of one-sided matches even more than group respawn did.
group respawn versus wave respawn. I have no idea what that is.
The number of one-sided matches in quick play has seen another 7 to 8% reduction in total rate since the data we showed in our last director's take. Just as before in quick play, this is
So they're trying to reduce the number of matches that are just one-sided. I mean, I get it, but when you have such an open system that anybody can queue up, you know, you have like your rank and whatnot. I don't know if, I mean, this just you know what this sounds like? This sounds like a diet skill-based matchmaking. What they're trying to do, but they're not trying to do it with skill-based matchmaking. They're trying to do it via game mechanics.
affected by rank. For competitive play, the news is even better because a rank reset would normally cause one-sided matches to increase for a couple of weeks. But wave respawn's effect was so significant, and this is where things should get alarming. Maybe potentially, again, we'll get to it.
Potentially.
The wave respawn's effect was so significant that we had 4 to 5% fewer one-sided matches in competitive at the beginning of Season 12 than we had at the end of Season 11, meaning that wave respawn makes a bigger difference than a ranked reset. I'm excited to see how big of a total difference we made in competitive play once the uncertainty we see with the rank reset is cleared. We're so thankful to all of you for the thoughtful feedback we got, and this helped us improve this system over time. Okay, so let me be clear about what I say here. I'm not saying the system is bad necessarily. I'm not saying it should go away altogether.
I don't know like who Savino's audience is, like what the age bracket is, but usually when someone says, I am not saying it's bad, they're actually saying, I'm saying it's bad. That's what I've learned, being like, I don't know, like an older person. Whenever someone says, I'm not trying to cause a ruckus. So what's the opposite of that? I'm trying to cause a ruckus. That's what is actually happening here. But whatever, keep going.
Together, I just think it's way too strong personally. I'm pretty sure how it works.
Wait, too strong how? How is it too strong? Like, people, like whenever you kill someone, they usually get sent back, right? So if they time it correctly, then they can just come back instantly, right?
Is like if you respawn, if you die within like 6 seconds of another player, like 6 seconds of their timer, your respawn gets grouped in with them.
Oh. Wait. If you die within 6 seconds of another player, then your respawn gets grouped in with them. So is that for your own team? So let's say on one side of the team, one person dies, and then 3 or 4 seconds later, another person on the same team dies. Your respawn gets grouped in with theirs. Oh, okay. As opposed to what was it? What was the old way? Like one person dies, they have their own personal timer that is just gonna happen, and then another person 3 seconds later dies. They're gonna have their own personal timer, and then they get sent back. Okay. So it would end up being, what do you call it? Everybody would just have their own personal timer. So what what problem are they solving? The number of just match blowouts? I mean, match blowouts happen, like in sports. Like, I don't think this is an issue. I don't know. Maybe we could have like a conversation in that, are match blowouts good for the game? Are they bad for the game? If I were to guess, probably bad for the game, but that's part of the game. Sometimes you just you get completely wrecked because maybe someone on the other team, maybe they have like better communication, maybe they have better ult timing, maybe they got like one or two people that got really good aim. It could be many things, just like in real sports. It could be like a luck factor, or like the dude hit the ball and like the other dude like stumbled over his feet and just missed a catch. It's usually like a layup or something. You could just get lucky. Well, not lucky, but you could get lucky in sinking all your threes from like way behind the 3 point line. Like blowouts happen. Um, I don't know. Just it's a I don't know. It's just like I would need to be convinced that the wave respawn is like a good thing.
That number should get cut in half. There's been so many times where like either a clash fight gets stalled out together, like how you position for your next fight matters based on the timing of the respawns.
So wait, the whole wave respawn, does that only affect like two players at a time, or does it affect the entire team at a time? And when does the timer start? So like if one player dies and another player dies like 2 seconds later, and then another person dies again 2 seconds later, is the timer based off of that first person dying? Or does like the first two people get sent out in a pair and that's the 2 person wave? Or does, if the third person comes in contact with that 3 second or the 6 second timer, is it like a 3 person wave? Or like, I'm not entirely sure of the mechanics. I mean, I get the concept, but I need like to know the details.
Like respawn timing is one of the most important things in the game at the skill ceiling. And if you automatically make everybody spawn together, on some maps your potential to spawn camp a player goes away completely. Not because they actually did anything right, but just because the game is respawning them together automatically, right? There was one fight where we were like at 80% on Koth, and we were chasing down staggers, and I wait to kill the last person at around 85, 86%. But because that player ended up dying within 6 seconds of someone else, which, you know, unfortunately one of my teammates killed them and I couldn't stagger them myself, right? They ended up getting a good respawn. So 4 of the squishies spawned in at once together, and the ball spawned in early. The ball touched once, ran away, and then all 4 of them came back and got a clean team fight. And that's giving them another fight for free, not because they did anything right, but just because, again, like they honestly got punished. They died. They should have been punished for this and lose the game. Instead, because it was a 6 second window to jump in their respawn, they were able to get an entire new fight for free. And the
Okay. It's kind of like a soft comeback mechanic. So like comeback mechanics are, I don't know. Well, both teams have access to them. No, it's not like one team has the advantage by having it. Uh, both teams have access to the wave respawn. Um, and I get that, where if you're snowballing in a match, you want to be able to leverage that snowball and turn it into a bigger snowball. From a competitive player standpoint, that's what you want. But from the developer standpoint, they want to have. You know what this feels like? This feels like that one mechanic in Mario Kart where even if you're in last place, you always get the badass items to like try to jump you up. Or what was it? Like when you're in last place, you get like some mechanic where like you get like a speed boost or something. Or if you're versing the AI in Mario Kart, you never really get to lap anybody because that's just not how the game is programmed. That you're always trying to, you always feel that heat like right on your backside. That's just how the game is. That's what this feels like.
The reason why you want to stagger those players in that situation is because your fight percentage to win one 5v1, right? And then there's one 5v1 followed by one 5v4 is significantly higher than your percentage chance to win one.
I think this is a bad system. This is a bad system, the whole wave respawn thing. Because I made that analogy of this feels like the comeback mechanic of Mario Kart. And you can't truly ever be like way out in front of the lead. It's stupid.
One 5v5 fight. So you're almost dividing and conquering. And if you stagger respawns, especially towards the end part of a round, that's a great way to ensure a high fight win percentage. This is a huge game sense thing.
And also, I think wave respawn would be fine if the game initially came out, like if Overwatch 2, just like from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, if they changed that system in the beginning, because it's quote unquote a new game, I think it would have been fine. But since Overwatch 2 is now out, and now it's like, I don't know how many years into Overwatch 2, and now they're trying to change the respawn and how it works, that's the point of pushback, I think. If you started out with this system, nobody would give a shit. But since you're trying to change the mechanics, you're gonna get a lot of pushback. It just it is what it is.
That players at the skill ceiling of the game often use to create wins. Like, this is how you win. It's a big, big, big part of the game. And on games like Clash, games like Koth, like this feature, and like a 7 to 8% reduction in one-sided matches, and then a 4 to 5% in competitive during an MMR reset, soft reset, is a massive swing. And so what this is telling you is that it's an incredibly powerful feature that is bailing players out and giving them a free chance to get back into the game. The reason why so many one-sided matches have started happening in Overwatch 2 is because of the format, right? It's especially when your super tank is getting gapped, it's almost impossible for other players to overcome that deficit, in my opinion. That's what I think is happening. You didn't see this many one-sided matches in Overwatch 1 because there was less emphasis on a single player. And now, the answer to that, coming in wave respawns, like, that's not...
This is Blizzard inventing new problems. They create their own problems, and then they have to sell you their fixes on the problems, and it all goes back to 5v5 versus 6v6. That's what it is. I know that's Savino's shtick. 6v6 was better. But it's so funny when that is truly the case. And every time they like try to mess with Overwatch, it's always 6v6 was better. This is so funny. I think he's trying real hard not to bring that up, but I can feel it.
Actually making the core gameplay better. That's just the game bailing out bad players who are making mistakes. I don't want to say bad players. They're bailing players out who are making bad decisions.
They're bailing bad players out. Just say it, dude. They're bailing bad players out. That's a goated phase, by the way. That's passion.
Decisions and staggering, and you're removing the reward for a player properly staggering something, right? You're just removing the punishment. You're dumbing down the game. So yeah, we've seen this 7 to 8% reduction in quick play and this 4 to 5% reduction in competitive, but it's not happening because the game somehow became better. It's happening.
I think, like, after watching so many like competitive scenes of FPSs, I think this is just the future of all competitive FPSs, save maybe Counter-Strike. It is just you can't really get around it. When an competitive FPS hangs around long enough, the game mechanics get easier, so it becomes more accessible to more players. I have yet to see a game that has done otherwise, save Counter-Strike. I think that's just you can't really get around it.
Because you remove the punishment of somebody dying in a bad time. And so you stop the reward for making the correct play, and you're essentially removing the punishment from someone making the incorrect play. Now, to some degree, I can see this feature being healthy in the game, maybe. I'm not 100% sold, but the more I've played against it, the less I've liked it, because I see how it's giving teams who are losing extra fights. Like,
Hmm.
you're just giving them an extra chance for free. They're not actually playing the game better, right? And if you want to give players a chance, they should have to actually do something correct. But instead, they're doing something wrong, or something inoptimal is happening to them that they should get punished for, but you're just saying, oh, you know what, we're going to remove this punishment from the players because games are too one-sided in our format, that brought more flaws to the game than it did solutions. And it's like, why are we doing this? So I think in the meantime, I'm not going to sit here and rain on their parade and say, this feature.
No, you should. You should rein in on their parade because it's their product. They can do with it whatever they want. And also, what else comes with that? All the critiques that come with it. If they didn't think if they didn't think this would be a good thing for the game, they wouldn't have implemented it. But since they do think it's a good thing for the game and for the general population, they implemented it. Now, who knows whether like how they tested this on their own terms, like before they released it out to the like actual live service game. Uh, they like how many actual like skilled people actually are like go into the testing phase and like test all the mechanics out? Like what? Like, do you think they're like really good aimers? I doubt it, unless they like hire people to do that. Like they hire some content creators, like they get a like big old group and be like, okay, we're gonna implement this style of respawn system. You guys got pretty good aim. We want you to battle it out and duke it out, and we want to get your feedback on this system. Do you think they do that? I mean, maybe they do sometimes, but more often than not, it's the developers or whoever. Maybe they got like some quality assurance testers to like test out versions of the game. Probably, I would guess that regular people don't have as good of aim, at least on M&K, as like all the people you see. You know, like your general influencer playing Overwatch, and you know it's their job to play the game. I would bet that those people, it just they can't really feel it. They can't feel it because their skill level is just, I don't know. It's not as good. It's not as bad, or it's just not as good. So I don't know, man.
Feature sucks, it never should have been added, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to see it get nerfed. I think the respawn time should only be within like 2 to 3 seconds of
Mm,
somebody else. And then if you're not in that
mm.
wave, you're on your own. Um,
That is actually a halfway decent idea, because then it turns into diet comeback mechanic. Right now, as it is implemented, the 6 second window, it feels like diet comeback mechanic. But now, that version where it's only like 2 or 3 seconds, ah, probably can't feel it as much, but it's there.
I don't. There have been more times where I've pressed tab and been like, all right, I just got fucked by wave respawn, than I have been like, oh, like this just saved the
Yeah,
game for me. And even when it does save the game for me, I don't think that's how I should be able to get let back in the game. Like,
yeah. No. Well, I think tippy top level players that play the game like it's their job, they don't like that feeling. But I would say that most people, since most people aren't the tippy top players, they probably enjoy it.
if I'm going to win the game, it should be because I do something right, not because I do something wrong and the game bails me out for free. But unfortunately, this has been a really common theme in Overwatch 2, where, like, I hate to say it, and you can go back and watch the Group Up podcast where we talk about this, where we beat around the bush, where, like, I've just been in people's ear, but, like, they're dumbing down the game. Like, the game is
Yeah.
being dumbed down. Like, this is just what is happening.
This is the reality of all FPS games. Whether or not you want to believe it, it is what happens. It happens with all FPS games.
It's the most Activision thing ever because it's like they want to make the game more approachable for casuals, and getting
Hmm.
steamrolled sucks. But instead of like going to the format that you kind of stopped steamrolls.
Steamrolls should not happen in the first place. If the ranking system is doing its job, blowouts should not happen, or at least as much. But whenever they come out with a new respawn system and they said that it downed, like the percentage of blowouts got reduced by like what 8%. I mean, that's not nothing. That means there's something wrong with your ranking system. All right, you got like as much as he praised it in the beginning, it still needs work because it's not perfect.
Or made steamrolls be less important that was beloved. It's like, okay, we're going to do this new one, and then we're going to add maintaining ult charge. We're going to put all these passives in the game that deny value that automatically are there for the player, right? It's just the direction this game is done. It's been like watering down a fine wine to make it more accessible at a McDonald's. And it's like that.
It's turning a fine wine. Overwatch. I don't know. I don't know if I'd call Overwatch a fine wine. I think Overwatch is like juicy juice. Oh man, is Juicy Juice still in business? Remember that big old can where you had to like crack both sides? Overwatch is Juicy Juice, not a fine wine.
That's not what Overwatch was. Overwatch was a steakhouse. It was a niche, right? And now, because I don't want to say in the name of profits, at least in this case, right? Because like Wave Respawns, like I do think that devs like Gavin like actually care about their systems and find them like it is an interesting concept. It is like I'm not trying to say it's not. I'm not trying to shit on the idea or be like they're just doing this to make money. I think they do believe in the idea, and because like honestly, I don't think the game's issues or Team Force issues are the systems people or the art people. It's just the balance team, really. Like these people have really tried interesting stuff and interesting features that could make the game better. The more I play against Wave Respawns, though, in particular, I think it's too strong for now. And then if it gets nerfed and tuned down a little bit, I'm down to see that. But a 5 to 10% ball, 5 to 8%, I'm not going to round up, 5 to 8%, let's be fair here,
Yeah,
margin in one-sided matches is a massive margin. That's a big margin,
yeah,
right? And it's
yeah. As much as he was praising the rank system before, uh, I mean, maybe it's in a better place, but it's still not perfect.
just being given for all the wrong reasons. These players aren't doing anything right. The game's just bailing them out, and it's taking away the reward from players who have learned how to do this properly and make the correct decisions. And a dumbed down Overwatch is not a better Overwatch. I personally think the game is at the best when its skill floor is low, its barrier to entry is lower, and its skill ceiling is higher. You want that gap to be as wide as possible so that the
Easy to learn, hard to master. That is the magic phrase for a lot of successful games. Like look at Super Smash Brothers. When that game first came out, it was easy to learn. You got jump, you got move left or move right. You can crouch. If you crouch on top of a platform, you go through it. You got a shield button. You got a couple of attacks. You got some aerial attacks. It's easy. Everybody can enjoy that game. But because of the coding and a couple competitive people, they explored that system, and now you have Super Smash Melee that is the competitive scene that has survived for like 20 years, however long it's been around. Because the game is easy to learn and hard to master.
journey that players can go along to feel their progression, if you will, or find ways to express their own skill.
And also that gap he talked about, when the gap is big, the skill floor, skill ceiling, when the gap is big, that benefits skillful players, and maybe not so much the developers in terms of like monetary gain. When the gap is closer, like the skill floor, skill ceiling, that benefits the general player base, and not so much the competitive try hard player. And that also benefits the developer if they're selling a lot of microtransactions. So it's not like a big gap good, small gap bad, but that's only relative to like the top 1% player. It's just, it is what it is.
Is all the more longer, and it keeps them more engaged. And there's just more to do. Less is not more, right? Less is not more. So, I in hindsight, Wave Respawns way too good right now. I think they should be nerfed. Players should not get additional fights for free. It's just look. I don't want to be called a doomer and just say it's a bad mechanic, but I kind of do think it's a bad mechanic. Like I'm heavily leaning towards this is a bad mechanic, and it's trying to solve one-sided matches in the complete wrong way. Like if matches are so one-sided because the power between the roles is insanely wide. There's too much power on the tank, and if there is a tank deficit, it is so hard to overcome because there's just way too much performance like impact on one player in this game compared to Overwatch 1, where there were way more organic ways to turn fights. Abilities were all weaker. There was more opportunity and more player agency in the old format compared to this one. I would much rather see them try to go back to the old format first before they try this thing to stop one-sided matches and allow the game to not be dictated so much by what your tank is on. Really, there's just too much power on that player, and when they're on the wrong pick, it's going to create more steamrolls in both directions, and that is what has happened in Overwatch 2. Wave respawns do not solve that. They just bail out bad players from being punished. Sorry, they bail out players, not necessarily bad players, who make bad decisions from being punished from their mistakes, and it takes the reward away, an opportunity away to potentially spawn camp somebody, stagger somebody even more. It just took away opportunity from players. It didn't actually add anything to the gameplay loop, and that's why I don't think where it's at right now is a healthy solution. I think it could be better. Before I say it shouldn't be in the game altogether, I'd like to see it get nerfed slightly to like a 3-second gap instead of a 6-second gap, because 6 is just too long. You're rewarding players too much. If somebody dies like 5 or 6 seconds later, like they should not spawn in the same wave. They just shouldn't. They just should not. You're
You know what? So it's 6 seconds. What's this other? What's bull riding? Bull riding timer. Rodeo timer. No, that's like what's the timer for like the bull riding sport? Isn't it like 8 seconds? Or is it 10 seconds? Whatever the case. 6 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but I think 6 seconds doesn't seem like a lot when you're like in like bronze, silver, whatever, like gold, plat, so on and so forth. But up at the tippy top ranks, like top 500 in like Grandmaster or whatever the rank is for Overwatch, 6 seconds feels like a lot. And I don't think the developers have that knowledge, or they don't have the capacity to understand that, because that's just not where their skill level's at. I don't know if 6 seconds is like good or bad. I mean, just from listening to Smito, it seems like it's bad. It's bad at like the upper ranks, but even in like the middle ranks and the lower ranks, it probably doesn't matter. It's probably fine.
It's just I'm gonna get irritated, so I'm gonna stop talking right now. But what are your thoughts on Wave Respawn? Do you guys think it was a good addition to the game? Do you think it's helping the game, or do you think that it's kind of bad? I do think it needs to get nerfed. I'm willing to see what happens after it gets nerfed, but I think they're trying to solve one-sided matches in the wrong way, and it's not better for the ceiling of the game, in my opinion. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care. Peace out. See y'all later.
All right. Cool video. I dig it. It's nice to be kept up to date with the general goings-ons of certain FPS games. But does Overwatch still have those gigantic hitboxes that extend like quite a bit off of the players still? I mean, that was hilarious if that's still in the game. And it's like, did that ever get nerfed to like bring the hitbox back down to like whatever the visual of the character was? I just don't know. But nah, good video. I liked it. That's a funny mechanic in an arena FPS, more or less. But I don't know. But overall, good video. Yep, I'm excited to see what else Blizzard is gonna do with the game. I mean, because it's still relevant. It's not irrelevant, Overwatch 2. But who knows? Maybe it'll get better. But that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, see ya.